Welcome to Sports Talk with Steve Jones, the daily talk show with the voice of Penn State football and men's basketball. You never know what special guest may stop on by any given day. Now here's the man of the hour, Mr. Steve Jones.
All right, great to have you with us on the show today. Big news, the Spikes were asking last night after the game where their food went.
Mm-hmm.
That's because Jerry went down and took it.
Oh my God. Starting off with a heater. Jeez.
Well, no, he comes up into the booth last night, and he says, look, I got wings. And he has all these wings to go with a chicken sandwich, a hamburger. It's like, they asked him at the end, they said, I hope you and your family have a great night eating. It's like, no, it's just for him.
Oh, God.
You know where he got the wings?
Huh.
They had it out for the players in the lounge area, and he thought it was a buffet. And I'm not kidding you. There's no joke. He actually took their food last night. That's where he got the wings from. He goes, I didn't know. I'm like, oh, jeez, what are you doing?
This is why we can't have nice things.
Oh, golly.
I would like to start with a Penn Stater, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, well, because I want to get to other sports here. But go ahead.
Of course. We'll get there quickly. There are now two Penn Staters who changed teams within their divisions this offseason.
Yeah.
One of them, of course, Saquon Barkley. The next, Jahan Dotson, is now officially a Philadelphia Eagle, joining Saquon in Philly, back in the state of PA.
This is a great deal for Philadelphia, and it's a great deal for Jahan Dotson. Dotson has the ability now to play where he should be playing in the NFL, and that is in the slot. In other words, keep people off of him. With Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown and Dallas Goedert, look, he's going to get singled up.
Yeah.
He's going to get singled up by the nickelback. And I just think he has an opportunity here to catch 40 to 50 balls in the upcoming season. He doesn't have to be the number one guy, the number two guy. He just has to go out and just be himself. And I think Jalen Hurts is going to love playing with this guy. Because for the Eagles, I thought that was a potent offensive move. Somebody said, boy, they got him for cheap. But look, people don't realize that's how moves are made in the NFL. Okay, the Chase Claypool trade is an aberration, and it was an aberration of stupidity.
Yes.
I'm not being facetious about that. When they made the trade, the Bears, and they got Claypool from the Steelers for a second-round pick, I sat back and went, what are you doing? Number one, he's unproductive and probably a seventh-round pick in exchange for him. They gave him a 2.
Crazy.
Right? And
crazy.
That isn't done. I think people think because you're a number one pick that you're going to get a number one pick in return when you trade. In the NFL, that's not true. So they got a 3 and a 5 or something like that.
It was Jahan Dotson and a 5th for a 3rd and 2 7th-round picks.
And 2 7ths. I mean, that's the going rate today in the NFL. That's what they do.
Yeah.
That's how they make trades. But for Dotson, it is a great move for him. And for the Eagles, it's a great move for them. I mean, as Washington is a mess.
Yes, they're a mess. They're rumored to be looking at Luke McCaffrey is probably going to be their number 2 receiver. They drafted him in the 3rd round. He is kind of expected to be that number 2, either him or
former Nebraska quarterback,
or Olamide Zaccheaus, Jamison Crowder. It's going to be one of those guys, a Byron Pringle, Martavis Bryant, like a weird collection of people outside of Terry McLaurin who are going to be number 2s.
Washington is destined to finish no better than 3rd.
And we'll see what happens with Jalen Daniels at QB. We'll see how he plays this season, but he lost a weapon in this trade. So not great if you're him, but as you mentioned with Jahan Dotson, he's now going to be that 3rd guy in the slot. He's going to have Dallas Goedert at tight end, and he's got Saquon at running back. That offense is really good. Really good.
Weaker at center without Jason Kelce.
Yes.
But
still one of the best offensive lines outside of him.
But here's the problem. Are they better defensively? Okay? The Dotson trade does not solve any of the defensive problems. Okay? Maybe you get, now if you're scoring enough points, it doesn't really matter. But
they've added talent on their defense, so we'll see what this season shakes out to be. They've added a little bit. They've added pieces here and there.
Not really. I mean, it's still really the same cast. Guys like Davis, Jordan Davis, and Jalen Carter had to play better. Davis has played to what I thought it would be. Not good. Okay? I didn't think Davis was a good pick because I thought he was overweight. The games I watched him in with look, I talked to Brad Nessler about him. Brad said, Steve, he's phenomenal because he saw a lot of games.
Yeah.
Well, every time I watch him, I didn't think he was phenomenal. I kind of thought he was standing up a lot and he looked tired. Well, he doesn't play that way. He had a great game against Buffalo last year, but that's been it.
Yeah.
As the season goes, he fades. Right? Carter, I never would have picked. Never would have picked. Reason, you can't leave the scene of a fatal accident, especially of a teammate and a staffer that you know, and have me and pass my character test. You can't. Everybody's talking about him being the first overall pick. Why did 8 other teams bypass him? For that reason. For that reason. I'm sorry. It's just, I know it happened a couple of years ago, but that's the reason. In other words, the character issue. Right? Well, he started out like a house of fire last year, and then he faded. The Georgia guys are all fading on that team. The Kobe Dean has done nothing there. Now, Nolan Smith, I think, has a chance to be pretty good for him. He's pretty quick off the edge. The thing with him is he has to stay away from injuries. But most of the other guys that they have, I'm not big on Slay. The one safety I like.
Reed Blankenship?
Yeah, Blankenship. I like him a lot. I think he's a good player. I think getting Avonte Maddox back helps them. But their linebacking core is not great. I mean, look, they could have signed Patrick Queen. Steelers got him. Queen's really good.
They did bring in Devin White. They have Devin White, Zach Bond, who I'm a big fan of. Of course, he was a Saint for a while. C.J. Gardner-Johnson, speaking of Saints, is now back. I love his game. I always thought he was incredible. So they've got a lot of talent on the defense. It's just how the talent will play. Of course, they drafted both Quinion Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. So they're both going to get some time here.
DeJean's been out of camp a lot, which hasn't helped.
Yeah,
I think he's going to be a good player for them because I really liked him a lot. And putting him back now, they still have Covey, but still putting him back on punts. And Covey did a good job on punts last year.
And they have Isaiah Rodgers, who's a good returner. Paris Campbell's pretty quick, so he's going to kind of be along that group as well.
But there's another element to it too. You look back on that team last year. How many times did Josh Elliott bail them out?
Jake Elliott.
Jake Elliott was able to bail them out a lot last year. They need him to keep doing that.
Yeah.
And so are they the best team in the East? Yes. Are they better than Dallas? Yes. But it's not a question of, are they better than the Cowboys? It's a question, are they good enough to get to the Super Bowl?
It's a question of, can they beat the Niners? That's what the question's going to end up being.
Right.
That's what it is. And anyone who thinks not that question is just not thinking seriously enough about this.
And part of that is location of the game. That is part of it. Because if the game is in Philadelphia, boy, that adds another 4 to 6 points onto the Eagles. Of course, if they fall behind, then I got to give the Eagle fans credit. They turn on them quickly.
There's no fan base that turns faster than Philly fans do.
Mercy me. They just
as soon as something goes slightly wrong, it is an avalanche.
Yeah. So that's where they are. Now let's get to a very interesting comment made by some people at Ohio State. And that is about the future of other sports. If you were a fan of sports besides football and men's basketball, this statement goes back to what we have talked about. Okay? We've talked about this. So this is not going to be unfamiliar territory. But
I have not heard this statement. I'm intrigued to see who it was, what they said.
Oh, no, I've talked about this. The possible of de-investing in non-revenue sports. Oh, we make revenue. Please, just, okay. All right. Stop playing the word game here.
Mm-hmm.
You lose money. Yes, you have revenue. Your expenses are exponentially higher.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So this is something that was put out, and I think it was Ross Dellinger that put it out. Dellinger put out this tweet. Athletic departments plan to tier sports by de-investing in many of them to invest more resources in a small group of sports that, 1, generate revenue, 2, attract fans, and 3, are capable of competing for championships. Matt Brown put out a tweet. Ohio State's new leadership has been telegraphing this sentiment. They're going to slash funding in many of their Olympic sports. I expect many Big Ten teams to do the same, and perhaps even the conference. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in the Columbus Dispatch, they had an interview about this, and that athletics has been self-sustaining for more than a decade. Penn State, of course, has been forever. And that the university does not want to use taxpayer dollars or tuition dollars to support all the teams in the future. Carter said we'll still have scholarships, we'll still have programs.
Mm-hmm.
Some of those sports may start to look and act a little bit more like a club sport, but yet compete on the Division I level and still travel and compete.
Mm-hmm.
This is a result of the $22 million.
Mm-hmm.
Now, remember, Ohio State has 36 sports.
A lot of sports.
Penn State has 31.
Mm-hmm.
All right? Alabama has 20. Texas has 17. Clemson has 19. Hey?
Mm-hmm.
No offense, but they figured this stuff out a long time ago on the finances. It's about the finances. It is not about the sport.
Mm-hmm.
Right? When you look at the roster limits that the NCAA put out, I don't get it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I realize like men's lacrosse, women's lacrosse is a big difference because men's lacrosse goes into a specialty mode. Once you win the face-off, boom, you go down. Mm-hmm. Now you're subbing out guys and bringing in now your offensive group. Okay. Right. Mm-hmm. Women's lacrosse doesn't do that. They just, that's why there are fewer, there are going to be fewer scholarships for them. But across the board, who can afford this? I mean, with the $22 million, and let's remember, we're going to throw in a 4% escalator each year. Mm-hmm. It's going to get to $25 million in a short period of time.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do? I thought there would be sports that would be cut following COVID because everybody lost so much money. Mm-hmm. That didn't happen.
They avoided it.
Yeah, it didn't happen. And I was like pleasantly surprised by that.
Mm-hmm.
There's been an investment in facilities. Okay. Every day I park my car, I'm looking over at the beautiful new field hockey, mm-hmm. which Char Moret raised. I mean, that's not state money or anything like mm-hmm. that. Char raised that money.
Mm-hmm.
She got donors. She raised it. She did it the right way. So they might, like I said, there's just so many things people don't know. It's just, wow, how do you get the money? It's like, you got that because you got a donor to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Donors. It's like you're going to need donors for the soccer complex.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And now that's going to be a big question moving forward. Because now if you're sitting there and you have look, there are drains on sports. There's no question about that. Okay? And we've talked about the numbers on this forever. Now, let's start with this. Wrestling is not affected by this at all. Penn State is going to keep investing in wrestling all the time. That's always the big one right away. Why would I have wrestling? Just slow down, okay?
They would not get rid of wrestling.
Okay, let's just slow down. Okay, stop with the panic button. I talk to the athletic director all the time. You know, what Cale needs, Pat gives him, right? Because he knows how important that is. So that's not the issue. The issue is, okay, let's talk about a sport that they won't get rid of. Okay? There's no question that a sport that will not be touched is women's basketball. Okay. Well, they lost over $4 million last year. And this is this, okay? There's a love affair right now with women's basketball, with what Caitlin Clark accomplished, Angel Reese accomplished, so many others, okay? Cameron Brink. But this is where the media does a horrible job reporting. It's great, it's incredible, it's the next big thing. It's like, okay, over here in the back, which women's basketball program made money? Well, you don't have to look it up. You can guess.
I'm assuming UConn, probably.
Nope. Who? Which one?
Tennessee? Baylor? Iowa?
None.
South Carolina?
Zero. They all lost money. Now, there's certain athletic departments when you go to Equity in Athletics, which has the numbers. I've gone through the numbers. I've looked at it. I haven't gone through everybody's numbers, but I've taken select schools. There are certain places like Rutgers in South Carolina that play games with the numbers. The exact same number for men's basketball, the exact same number for women's basketball, comes out even, blah, blah, blah. And that's just playing with numbers. Okay? Why do you think Dawn Staley has been harping on the fact that she wants to see a distribution of the NCAA tournament money to reflect the number of units that you get? Right now it's just distributed evenly. She's doing that because she's losing money by getting a tiered effect for a team that consistently is in the Final Four.
They got more.
And the SEC, because it would the SEC would be the distribution, okay? There's an opportunity now to get close to still losing money but breaking even, because the women's basketball TV contract's $65 million. The men's basketball is $1.1 billion. So don't think it's going to be, we're going to make up for it. No, you're not going to make up for it, okay? 2 years ago, now this one is one I did sit down and add up the numbers. You had to exclude Northwestern and Rutgers. Northwestern was excluded because I had to exclude them because they don't have to report they're a private school. So you have to exclude them. Rutgers you have to exclude because they do the same thing as South Carolina. It's exactly even. It's like, okay, really? Okay, I'll get back to you. Okay? So you have to exclude them. You know what the other 12 did? It's women's basketball. They lost $48.4 million in a year.
So average of about $4 million at school?
Yep. Okay. That's called taking the time to do the research. Okay? So that when I sit here, I can give you an accurate reporting of what the reality is. Okay? Okay? You can do all the Shangri-La all you want. Now, ESPN does Shangri-La and the whole deal because they're the ones that carry the women's basketball tournament, so they want you to think it's the greatest thing since sliced bread, so join on board. We want the ratings. Okay? But you notice when they did the new NCAA deal, everybody thought it was going to be separated out. It wasn't. Why? So it got kicked up to what, 130?
I think it was like doubled.
Right?
Something like that.
Well, no, I'm talking about the overall.
Oh.
I think the new NCAA contract is something like 120 to 130. Maybe it's 115. It's 115. All right, that's for everybody. I mean, because Penn State Wrestling's NCAA distribution is what?
I don't know off the top of my head.
$49,000. That can't be. Yeah, it is. It's on the line item. I can read. Okay. Of the $115 million now, this is where the increase happened. They were able to get about 2.5 times more, which was great. $65 million. The men's basketball tournament gets $1.1 billion. Okay. So, that's one of the problems that you have with all this is the money that is lost because, look, they don't have TV contracts, radio contracts. Media contracts make a big, big, big difference in what you're able to do. How much does it cost to go attend, with all due respect, a women's soccer game at Penn State? Now, they shouldn't be charging a lot for it, okay? I don't worry about that, okay? Just like with wrestling, I don't worry that they lose $800,000. I know they've got big donors and they've got the Nittany Lion Wrestling Club and things like that, but the reality is on the athletic department ledger, they lose $800,000. I don't care how much they lose. I don't care if they lose $2 million. The reason is I've got football and men's basketball to make up for it. Men's basketball last year had a small profit. That was because of circumstances that you're going to see it's going to be a little bit different in the next reporting, right? The next reporting is going to be back to what it normally is, which is $3 to $7 million. But the reason I don't care how much they lose is I got those other two sports. And football makes so much money from it, and they're going to get more from the college football playoff and so forth moving forward, that it makes up for any loss that an absolute winner and an absolute level of pride for this university is sustained with complete ease. So I don't care if they lose a dime. I don't care if they lose a dime. I don't care if they lose $2 million. Okay? They are the best.
Yeah.
All right. So that means nothing because they are what they are. But like the money losses are far more staggering than people realize. Okay. I talked about field hockey. Okay. Shar did a great job. LB's doing a great job. Terrific. You saw Gladio was in the Olympic Games, right? But they lost $2 million. Okay? Women's soccer. Erica's program is awesome, but they lost 1.6. Women's volleyball. Hey, they do great. Sometimes they sell out rec hall. No, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. 1.5 million. Okay? Women's ice hockey. 1.35 million. Okay? I think the world of Mike Gambino. Baseball. Now, this is before Mike got here. This is pre-Mike. Okay? Pre-Mike, 1.4 million. Men's lacrosse, Jeff Tambroni, awesome job, right? Think the world program, 1.2 million. Okay? Now, that is, now, any of those sports to me would be on the, quote, chopping block? Never. Never. But there are other sports that may, based on, again, the $22 million was not on anybody's radar 18 months ago.
They didn't put it into the budget. They didn't.
Nobody would.
Thought.
No athletic director in the country did that. And I mean, nobody does that. And people here across the board are proud of their women's soccer program, proud of their men's soccer program, proud of their baseball program, proud of their softball program. I mean, Clarissa Crowell and I just did an event together down in Harrisburg, right? Her team made the NCAA softball tournament for the first time in 13 years. Penn State made it. And we were all locked in watching it, playing Texas State and the whole deal, right? She's got the program going. She's got one of the top pitchers in the country, right? And a great facility. She's a fabulous coach, right? Okay? This isn't saying they're all going to be. No. You've got to make sure that you've got. Right? But there are other programs you've got to look at and go, all right, what should we do with these? That's just being realistic. Idealistically, I'd keep everybody. But if Ohio State is starting this idea of tiering sports, it's not going to take long for others in a Big Ten meeting to start saying the same thing. Because everybody can't afford to do this. The Big Ten TV contract is greater than ever. Penn State's radio contract starting this year is greater than ever. The college football playoff numbers in 2 years will go up and be greater than ever. The NCAA basketball distribution is going to have to scale back a little bit because of the settlement from House, which is going to hurt smaller programs, anything else. Right? But you're going to have athletic directors and presidents asking athletic directors, is this sustainable? Because you don't want to be taking state distributions for anything like that. Penn State's has not moved anywhere on the state level. It hasn't moved. Right? In fact, it's less than it was years ago. Right? And this is something that is for example, this is wrestling's problem. Penn State doesn't have a wrestling problem. I'm talking about the sport in general.
Yeah.
The sport in general has this problem. There are 16 SEC schools. How many have wrestling?
2.
Yep. Missouri and Oklahoma. They'll both wrestle in the Big 12 this year. Right? The other 14 do not. And I can assure you in no uncertain terms, Alabama is not adding it. Georgia is not adding it. LSU is not adding it. Texas is not adding it. They're not adding. Florida's not going to add it. Okay? That's one. Number two, the Pac-12 has gone bye-bye. Okay?
Yeah.
They're gone. I can assure you in no uncertain terms that the 4 schools in the West Coast are not adding wrestling. People are not. UCLA ain't going to add any sports. They're $104 million in debt. Let's add wrestling. No. Right? Notre Dame does not have it. I mean, some of the biggest names out there don't have it.
Yeah.
I believe in this state, 28 programs have wrestling. That's 1/3 of those who wrestle in the country. Third.
It's crazy.
Right? Okay. But it's not gonna affect the Big Ten, and it's not gonna affect Penn State. That's fine. I'm telling you what the problem is. Okay? The problem is you don't have some of the blue bloods of football across the country wrestling outside of the Big Ten. Everybody in the Big Ten wrestles except for the 4 new schools. Okay? You don't have that. Go ahead.
There you go.
I just don't think if you're a coach of a smaller program,
Mm-hmm.
there have to be concerns as to what the future is going to be.
Yeah.
Title IX does play a role. It always will play a role, no matter what. The next financial report that comes out in February is going to be interesting
Mm-hmm.
in a lot of ways. And it's going to be interesting to see what the financial report looks like once the college football playoff financially expands, which it's going to. It's a brand new contract coming up. I think it starts in 26 or something like that. Because that'll add in dollars. The TV contract adds in dollars. The new radio contract. So my thought process is this. You will not see the effect of the radio contract in the next reporter because the Learfield contract ran out May 31.
Yeah, it was the end of May.
Right? And this report goes to June 30th.
Yeah.
No,
so it won't.
No, this report goes to June 30th.
Okay.
So you may not see the new Playfly contract in there. You'll see the first installment of the TV contract in there, but not the Playfly contract. The year after, you'll see both in there together, and then the year after that, you'll see an expansion of the college football playoff number in there. You're saying, well, that's enough money. Again, but by the time you get to the third reporting year, you are now 44 to 47 million less because now you would have had 2 years of athletes receiving money.
Yeah.
I don't know. This is an interesting time.
There's question marks.
Well, it brings up question marks, but okay. But in other words, this is what comes up. There are consequences. So Tuesday's thing. There are consequences to these decisions. I'm not talking about the athletic department. I'm talking about the consequences to the House decision. Consequences to the House decision are as follows. Instead of moving forward and athletes getting money, there's the back pay issue. Now, this could have been worse.
As we've said, it could have been tripled. It could have been even more than that. So it could have been a lot more money.
And by the way, speaking of antitrust lawsuits, did you notice the ACC and Florida State broke off talks on a settlement?
So surprised.
Which I believe was discussed here on this show 10 days ago. They said they're not going to settle. They're just going through the motions. And the consequences are going to be, hey, this happened. Athletes are going to get money. Great. We're going to have to transition to some sports to club sports. See, it's not always Shangri-La. It's not always Shangri-La. So, I'll give you, we've talked about the Dartmouth men's basketball deal. Dartmouth refuses to recognize them. But say they go to the national board, because this was a regional board that made the decision, and they side with the players, and they have to negotiate with them. Which sports does Dartmouth then drop after that to make up for this? And which other programs start to unionize? Suddenly, out of nowhere, you have the men's soccer team unionizing. It's like going, you draw 82 people a game. I'm talking about at Dartmouth. What are we doing here? Let's see. Let's just for a couple laughs. Let's just see Dartmouth men's soccer. I'm sure they have on here Dartmouth men's lacrosse. Men's soccer comes right up perfectly.
The big green.
Yes, The Big Green Soccer Program represents Dartmouth College. I've got that part.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just see in their stats how many they averaged per game last year.
Let's find out.
Again, they're going to play on Nesson. That's really adorable. Don't care if they play on Nesson.
Mm-hmm.
Links. Let's go links. Statistics. Here we go. All right. Come on, stats. This is from 2023.
Mm-hmm. I'm enjoying the narration. I got to be honest. I'm liking the narration of movement here.
Well, they were 4-8-3 last year. 2-3-2 in the
not great
Ivy League. Let's see. Individual game by game.
Mm-hmm.
Miscellaneous. Points, shots. No, they don't have attendance.
Oofed.
I thought they would have attendance, but they don't. Let's see. There's their roster. Very impressive. Well, they beat Holy Cross at home, and they did draw 973.
Mm-hmm.
They drew 1,200. That was against Penn. 1,263 against Penn. Most of their other ones, okay, this is their attendance. I'm not going to get into home and away here because it's chart's a little wide here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is at home. This is what they drew.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about Dartmouth men's soccer here. They drew 973, 656, 237, 1263, 258, 369,
Okay.
380,
Mm-hmm.
466.
Okay.
That's it. They don't play a lot.
Mm-hmm. They went 4-8-2. You said so. They played.
They
14
played
games.
at Princeton. You want to know how many they drew at Princeton?
How many?
I'll take a guess. How many did they draw at Princeton?
Well, Princeton's in New Jersey, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, good start.
And no one wants to be in New Jersey.
Oh.
I've roasted Rutgers a lot on this show, and I'll continue to do so. I'm guessing 27 people.
Ooh, actually too low.
Too low. 41.
65.
65.
The
Okay.
attendance was 65.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That is the entire amount of people that actually live in the state of New Jersey who actually enjoy living there.
Oh, you just. But my point is, like, say they wanted to unionize.
Mm-hmm.
I can't justify making.
Mm-hmm.
The money's not there. Now, I know they have an endowment.
Mm-hmm.
Just for the heck of it, what is Dartmouth's endowment? Dartmouth endowment. Okay, let's just endowment. Okay.
Slowly pulling it up, slowly but surely.
Dartmouth endowment amount. Perfect.
The endowment's market value stands at $7.9 billion as of June 30th, 2023.
You know what Harvard's is?
How big?
40.
Whew.
$40 billion.
Whew. A lot of money.
Yeah.
That's what happens when it's Harvard. There's a lot of people that are very smart.
At the Dartmouth endowment distributed $390 million in fiscal year 2023. It'll distribute $425 million this year.
Mm-hmm.
This is according to them, the largest single source of funding they have in the university.
Mm-hmm.
Or the college is actually Dartmouth College. But my point is, if Dartmouth men's basketball wants to unionize, what does it then do to the other sports? Because they average 600 and what would we say, 686 per game?
Mm-hmm.
Well, now what if the men's soccer program wants to unionize?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you're not generating anything to do this.
Yeah.
Yeah, the reason I singled out Dartmouth is because of the unionization thing.
Mm-hmm.
If more and more sports want to unionize, there's going to be, okay, unintended consequences. And the unintended consequences are going to be for other sports, if not the sport itself.
Yeah. Speaking of sports, change topics a little change of gears. We have not been on the show to discuss this since the news broke. But Iowa coach Kirk Ferentz and assistant John Budmeier are being suspended for the season opener due to a school-imposed penalty for recruiting violation in late 2022
with Cade McNamara
for level 2 for Cade McNamara.
And I don't know what he did.
The rumor is that, and what is looked at is that it's a level 2 violation, which means they contacted a player and his family prior to him entering the portal. He, of course, entered the portal and 3 days later signed to Iowa and transferred. So he probably contacted a few days ahead of time.
This happens all the time. Okay? Okay. So if they had direct contact with him, that's the violation.
Yes.
If they have contact with representatives, right? Because remember, I'll give you an example. Noah Cain transferred from Penn State to LSU. The transfer portal opened at midnight, and at 12:01 he was at LSU.
It's like the NBA free agency. It was like midnight. All of a sudden, all these contracts are signed. It's like, whoa, where'd that come from? That's so crazy. Well, Kevin Durant signed a contract with the Nets at 6:01 p.m. That's insane.
Yeah,
that was such a fast contract. Oh my gosh.
And look, that's the other. There's so many crazy things today. The transfer portal is one of them. I mean, you notice how long it's taken for Penn State to get, okay, well, all right, love to get A.J. Harris, Jalen Kimber, the whole thing. But they didn't transfer over until January.
Yeah, it was late. Julian Fleming wasn't announced for a while.
Well, Julian Fleming, he still hasn't told everybody. He's like, he's out there. That's good. You know? So sometimes it takes longer, but it's the ones that, like, he's in the portal an hour later. It's like, hey, he's already landed. Well, hey, you made that decision pretty fast. Really?
Yeah.
The McNamara thing, no offense, I'm not even sure that.
Was it worth it?
He is a good college quarterback. He is not a great college quarterback.
Yes. And as we have discussed ad nauseum this past season, in the past 17 years, the Iowa offense has not notably put up a lot of points. So
you noticed that, did you?
I believe we discussed on this show the over-under every week for Iowa football and how many points they would score. And very often we actually said too high of a number. We would say 7 and they would get 6.
For Jack Ham and I, this was one of those things where privately we would never do it on the air.
No.
Right? He'd call me up on a Monday. He'd say, what's the over-under on Iowa this week? And I remember I told him one time, 32. He goes, 32? 2 weeks later, he calls me up. He goes, Steve, check it out. He says, it's 29.5 this week. Right? Well, finally we got to Black Friday. And the over-under. He calls me up on Monday. He says, did you see the over-under? Because I was getting ready to go down to Orlando. And he said, guess what it is? I said, I don't know, 24, 25. He goes, 23.5. 23.5. So now, okay, I do the game on Thanksgiving, and I fly up to Detroit, and the Iowa-Nebraska game is on in the hotel room because Penn State's game's that night.
Yeah.
I'm watching this thing, and it's 10-10 in the fourth quarter. I think it was 10-10 at halftime. So I'm thinking to myself, 10-10 at halftime, they'll go past 23.5, the whole thing. Nope. Neither team is scoring. Right? It's still 10-10 in the fourth quarter. And then Iowa's got the ball. Turn it over. Nebraska's got a golden chance. Nebraska turns it over. Iowa gets a couple of them. They bring the backup kicker out because the first team kicker, I think it was Marshall Meter they brought out, right? They had missed a couple field goals, whatever. He kicks in the game winner. Hey, we're great. 13-10. Total 23. Under. Okay? As I said on the show repeatedly last year, you know you have a gambling problem if you're betting the over on Iowa football.
Yeah, and as we'd also discussed last year, their best offensive player was their special teams returner, Mr. Cooper DeJean.
Cooper DeJean was their best offensive weapon, along with their punter.
Yes, which was just so funny. Torrey Taylor to talk about. Going back to the professional side of football real fast, the Chiefs announced they have signed Creed Humphrey, their center, to a very lucrative deal. 4 years, $72 million, making him the highest paid center in NFL history. He's very, very good.
Yeah, but how much of it's guaranteed?
$50 million guaranteed.
See, he's not going to get the.
So he's getting 4 years, $50 million.
He's not getting $72 million.
Yeah.
That's not how it works in the NFL.
But still, $12.5 million a year is not bad.
No, that's good.
It's pretty good. That's pretty good money for any player.
Yeah, and let's face it, you are the guy that is doing everything you can to protect the moneymaker.
So when you hear from Brett Veach, be like, how's Creed Humphrey? Pretty good player. Pretty good at football. And we are now officially, speaking of football, week 0 is here in college football, and week number 1 is here for high school football. It's football season, Steve.
High school football starts tonight.
State High plays today. They're going to Monroeville, I believe, for their game.
Yes.
So they are a cool 2-hour plus drive away from there. That'll be a fun one for them. Started high school. Hey, let's go on the road to Pittsburgh for a football game.
Yeah, you know what? I realize that you're trying to play schools of comparable size, and for State High, that is an issue. Back in the day, State High would play Bellefonte on Thanksgiving. Of course, Thanksgiving Day games in high school football don't happen very often anymore.
Still happens in my hometown of Cheshire, Connecticut.
Yeah. Well, Connecticut's a little different. We used to play our crosstown rival. The crosstown rival doesn't exist anymore. Drove them out of business. And then they shifted the State College Bellefonte game to the first game of the season. Well, they don't play anymore against each other. Size of schools. Now, since I've been here, State College has not played Baldy, Galleria, Penns Valley, Phillipsburg, Osceola. The only one they played locally was Bellefonte. They used to play Lock Haven, which is now Central Mountain. Don't play them anymore. They used to play Indiana. They don't play them anymore. They used to play Punxsutawney. Don't play them anymore. Right? Yeah. They joined the conference, so now it's Harrisburg, Bishop McDevitt, CD East. They've got these games that they play once in a while in the West. It's just a lot of traveling for these kids to play the games.
Their schedule this season, they got Gateway, which is in Monroeville. They've got Altoona at home, Harrisburg on the road on the Saturday. So they're driving out to Harrisburg, Cumberland Valley, Chambersburg, Central Dauphin, Cedar Cliff, Central Dauphin East, Carlisle, and then Bishop McDevitt is their season. So it's a lot of traveling. The closest game outside of the home games, and team-wise, would be what? Altoona, technically? Would they be the closest team?
It is.
It
is.
It's far.
Well, they play Mifflin County, don't they?
Not this season.
No, they play Mifflin County?
Not on the schedule, at least.
Okay. But again, it's because of the size of the school. My complaint about high school football is simple, and it's the playoffs.
As we've discussed, it's too long.
Well, it's not just too long, but let's take District 4. District 4 has 4 categories. Of the 4, 2 of them have an 8-team playoff. 8 teams. There are too many teams that are under 500 playing in these district playoffs.
Yeah.
And you have people saying, oh, but it's really good. Good for who? It's good for nobody. Get rid of it. Okay? You have to. This is not a question of deserving anything. It's the playoff. You have to earn it.
Yeah.
I gave you 10 weeks to earn it. You didn't earn it. Okay, you're 3-7. Now the circumstances may have been, hey, look, our quarterback got hurt. He missed 5 games, but when he was out there, he was really good. We were 3-2 in the other games that he played. I understand the circumstances, but it's still, in the end, you were 3-7. There are other teams that are 3-7 that didn't lose anybody all year. They're in the playoff. I've seen teams 1-9 in the playoff.
Yeah,
because you are given the right to opt in. If my team is 1-9, we are opting to go home. We didn't earn it. If we're 4-6, not going. 5-5.
It should be like bowl games where it's like
5-5. 5-5, I do it.
Yeah, it should be the bowl game cutoff, the 500 bar.
But you need to cut the district playoff down. Hey, where only the most deserving teams are in. Okay, I asked somebody from District 4 the other day. I said, when's the last time, not that an 8 beat a 1, the last time 8 was competitive against 1? And everybody I talked to could not name a single game. They couldn't name a single game. And that is one of the issues I find with high school football right now. Look, I know State High plays a lot of really competitive games. So does Bellefonte. But take a look at the high school scores on a Friday night. How many routes are there?
A lot of routes.
I wish it wasn't like that. Now, part of that is, hey, look, we have only 35 coming out for high school football. We've only got 40 coming out for high school football. I mean, in roster size, you've got guys playing both ways and so forth. That I understand. Because I love high school football on Friday night.
I loved it. I loved going to games as a high schooler. It was the most fun I had.
This is what people tell me to me, high school football is this. This is going to be the idealistic viewpoint of it. To me, it's a town coming together on a Friday night. When you have, your Friday night at home, parents of the players are there. People related to the coaches and friends of the coaches are there. Friends of the players are there. Parents of the band are there. Friends of the band are there. Parents of the cheerleaders are there. Friends of the cheerleaders are there. Parents of the color guard are there. Friends of the color guard are there. And then you have people who it's their town and they just want to gather someplace on a Friday night and watch high school football, and they love it. There's nothing like that gathering spot for a high school football game on a Friday night in Pennsylvania. It's very, very special. It's very special. And something I tell my class all the time, I said, you get to a Friday night at high school football in Center County, and say all 5 are home, Bald Eagle, Bellefonte, Penns Valley, Phillipsburg, Osceola State College, said you could have as many as 25,000 people attending games. Right? I said, the county's population is about 160. Said that's 1 in every 6 people in the county going to a high school game on a Friday night. Now, of course, that includes people from out of town and so forth coming in. I got that. But there's a passion for it here. You're talking about Connecticut. There is not a passion for high school football in Connecticut. Now, they like going.
It's different.
But it's different. It's a different passion compared to this state. We were talking about wrestling earlier. A young man that I grew up with, my brother's age, lived across the street from us. He won the state wrestling championship in Connecticut, the state wrestling championship. Now, in this state, he'd be celebrated and he would have offers from everybody along the way. But because he won it in Connecticut, he ended up going to Springfield College. Now, this is years ago, too, but it's different. There's not the passion for it in Connecticut. There's not the passion for high school football in Connecticut that you have. There's a passion for high school football in Connecticut, but it's not even in the same realm as Pennsylvania.
It's not close.
Pennsylvania is a completely different level of passion.
Mm-hmm.
All right? Northeastern Pennsylvania. All right. Hey, we got a big one coming up tonight. Valley West is going to be playing. Let's go. Let's. That's the way it is in this state.
I got the incredible honor back in 2022 when I just moved here to State College to go on Fridays to a bunch of different schools all throughout Center County to go to those games and do a bit of a pregame hype thing to basically warm everyone up before the game started. To Phillipsburg, Osceola, I got to go to Penns Valley. I got to go to all these different places. And as someone who had been out of high school for 4 years, had not remembered what it was like going to a high school game, it was just fun. You had, as you mentioned, all the people who are friends, family, adjacent of all the high schoolers. Then you've got the high school students who just want to go to the games because they're a fun thing to do on a Friday night. And as a high school student, you can't go many places. You can go to a high school football game.
Yeah.
And you've got all the kids in the younger programs who are playing high school or playing football at the U10, U12 levels. They go to the games in their jerseys.
Sure.
And they get to go support the teams, and they're having a blast. And there's all the friends and the family and the parents and the people who are just going to have a good time and watch their alma mater go play. It is the most pure sense of fandom, I think, out of any sport at any level in America. You don't get that type of fun. Even when a team doesn't play well, you don't have fans chanting terrible things. It's just fun. People are just having a great time. They're supporting the kids who are playing. They're supporting the team. They don't care if they love it when they're winning, and when they're losing, they're still behind them. They're still supporting them every second of the game.
You go to a high school concession stand, which is the Booster Club. They're serving Friday night high school football food.
Grab a hot dog. Grab a soda.
I'll give you one like Sealands Grove, you know, in that area there. That part, like Mount Carmel, Halishki. Never have had it, but everybody tells me,
I've heard about it. Heard rumors.
Halishki and Mount Carmel. How about Brett Veach? Veach is a Mount Carmel guy. Halishki. Right? Okay. Never had it. Heard a lot about it.
Oh, yeah.
But that's Friday night. Right? You go over, right? It gets to be late October. Big mug of hot chocolate. Sipping on that, watching the game. You know, it's a great experience.
It is.
It really is. I mean, it's something that, to be honest with you, I can't experience the way I did before because, I'll be honest with you, it's like you might as well just have a press conference on tomorrow's game, right? Instead of like just wanting to watch and enjoy it, I can't do it. You know, people are nice, but they have like all these questions they want to ask.
You know who does get to enjoy these games? Mr. Jason Lord.
He does a great job. He's done a great job for so many years. Adam Sheets.
Him and Adam Sheets are on the call. They're going to be on the call tonight. 7 o'clock is the game for State High. They're driving out there at like 2 o'clock today. They're leaving the studios, heading on over there for the State High game on Bigfoot Country Legends 103.7, 104.3. I love listening to them.
They do a great job.
It is fun. They crush it. So we may make fun of Jason a lot here on the show, but
no. He does.
Dude is awesome.
He always does a great job,
and he's also my co-host on our post-game show. So I love him.
And he does a great job, and not only that, he understands that the players' buffet is for the players.
Yeah, unlike certain people here on who make guest appearances via name on the show.
Jerry
Valeri.
Not your food.
Yes. And we'll be back next week to talk more things college football because it'll be officially week 1 as of Monday. So football's back, Steve. Football's here.
Yeah, and then Georgia Tech plays Florida State tomorrow in Ireland at noon. That should be interesting. That game will. I think
how many picks will DJ Uyunglele throw? That is the question.
I don't know. I watched him play at Oregon State last year, and he actually played decently. He wasn't great, but
we'll see. We'll see.
We'll see, because I'll tell you right now, Haynes King's Georgia Tech's quarterback, pretty good player.
Could be a good game.
The quarterback switched teams. It's a route.
Thank you for listening to Sports Talk with Steve Jones, a 7 Mountain Media production. Come back at 11 every weekday for analysis of the latest happening in the sports landscape. From college football to European soccer, Steve and Kyle cover it all on Sports Talk with Steve Jones.